Hello people, welcome back to the podcast. Today's episode is an episode on obesity. Now, both me and Dale didn't do that much research into this, and we are basically spitballing a lot of things that we don't know the exact cause of or the solution to, but it was a really enjoyable talk. The only thing I'm going to promote is my coaching, so if you are interested in online coaching, just DM me more info on Instagram or apply via the application in the description. And as always, if you can rate the podcast on Spotify if you're listening there, like and subscribe if you're on YouTube, and I'll let you enjoy the show. I told you I would do it in one take. That was unbelievable, by the way. That was actually class.
A bit of homework for this one?
Not any of my thoughts or questions that I have on it, really. Just like how obese actually are we? Do you know what I mean? Stuff like that. But before we get into it, do you want to promo your workshops?
Yeah, fuck it, why not? So,
you got a sales pitch ready?
I'm ready. Have you got an elevator pitch for you?
Right,
no, I'm kidding on. I actually don't.
I've very fucking good then.
Just fucking come to Airdrie, right? That's the sales pitch I've got for you. Nah,
You've lost them already.
No, all seriousness. So when I got this place, I was just using it for personal training, one-on-one personal training, and the idea was to bring more personal trainers over and they can use it as their own space. But the more and more I thought about it, I thought there's a massive gap in the market from getting people to be confident lifting weights, lifting the scary stuff, your deadlift, squats, any compound movements. So I thought I'd create these 8-week workshops. And the reason I made it 8 weeks was because I'd taken on a handful of clients at the start of this year, and a couple of them wanted to train together. And we started ironing this out, and I was like, you know what, I could actually scale this up to like a smaller workshop, because I was seeing the same group of people throughout the week, and I was like, we're all kind of learning the same thing here. Why don't we all just come together and in a small group setting, learn it together? So that's where the starting strong 8-week
and
workshops.
Explain where it is, because people that are on my podcast might not know, but I'm working out of your facility as well all the time, so I'm here as well. So
it's located in Airdrie, so anyone that can drive to Airdrie, you only need to come here once a week, but you're not just training once a week. And the idea is that I'll give you the tools, the skills and the confidence to take whatever we learn here. Like say it's a Monday, for example, you can go on away and apply that to the gym on the Wednesday. You'll have your app, you'll have the program, demonstration videos, sets, reps, everything's taken care of from a programming perspective. But the sessions here in this workshop is going to be different from showing up to a class and just doing a booty builder workout for 45 minutes. It's like an ab class.
You're calling it a workshop.
It's an actual education piece. Why do we cut calories? Why are we increasing calories? Why does it matter? What every person in this workshop will be doing differently, and not just applying like a cookie cutter side of things. So that's why there's only 4 spaces in each workshop as well. I think the most I probably would push that is 6, but I'm not going to take any more on than 4 people just now until there's a few that has been done. So feedback's been good so far with the template and the framework that I've used with hundreds of clients over the last couple of years. So it's now scaling it up into a group setting.
How do people?
So I'll give you a link. So there'll be a link below in the Spotify or YouTube or whatever it is.
Are you making up this link?
I'm making up. No, I'm kidding on. There's a link there. You can head over to my Instagram as well. It's on there. So you can head over to Bulletproof Coaching. It's got 2 underscores at the end of it as well. And there's a link in the bio to it's called Starting Strong Workshops. The goal over the year is to create various different types of workshops. And I think what we're going to speak about today is
I think it ties in nicely, because I think what we're going to call this podcast is how to tackle the obesity epidemic or whatever, but also as 2 people that are not working within that field at all. Well, we are, but when we don't know the ins and outs of obesity. It's a
very complex.
It's a massive fucking subject that we're personal trainers. We can't cover every aspect, and we're gonna fucking waffle the shite as well at the same time as usual. So basically, they're workshops for people to learn how to get stronger and educate themselves on food at the same time without it being just like one-on-one PT. So you'll basically have a wee bit of community aspect as well.
Yeah, so it's not just that one workshop and then you're off to your own. I'll be doing calls with people later in the week, with group chat, community side of things. But the one thing I will call out with it is there is a money-back guarantee to hold me accountable to this. If somebody pays me money for this for 8 weeks and gets to week 7 and week 8 and is like, I got no value from that whatsoever, I'll give you a full refund refund, no questions, no kickback. You don't need to speak to me. You can just text me. It's like dumping your girlfriend on through text. You can do that if you wanted. That's how confident that you're going to get the ability to lift weights and enjoy the process as well. I'm super confident in it. And if a couple of people want to expose that and take chances with money back guarantee, then so be it. But that's how confident I am with this workshop and the framework. So,
well, you've sold me, Dale.
End of the day, you get to train for free. So that's my pitch. But yeah, I think there's a huge gap because a lot of people don't like going into the scary weights in the gym. There's a lot of anxiety around it. So learning a private setting where no one else is there other than you and 3 other people who are learning the same shit and is in the same position as you.
Cool, right. So. Link in the bio, and then we'll tie it in with what we're going to talk about. Right, I'm just going to read some stats to you. So, for obesity rates, right? Obviously, when you read these as well, so it's like obesity rates and overweight rates, but we'll stick to obesity. And also, these stats I've pulled off Google or random YouTube videos. They may be wrong. I've done no research to see if these are actually correct, right? So I've just wrote down a load.
I'll probably be able to back you up because I think maybe about 20 episodes ago, I went on like in my nutrition stuff I was speaking about before. They were doing an obesity like webinar workshop, and it was like actual data. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to look at like the UK data for it, and fucking very surprising. Yeah, was it like 2021, 22?
Oh yeah, I don't know the years.
Oh, right. Too many numbers to.
That's how little we're going. Who knows what year they're from? So 39.6% of Americans are obese. Then 31% in New Zealand are obese. 30.5% in Australia are obese. 30.4% Canada. I'd throw a wild card in here. 28.4% in the UAE.
Oh, fucking hell, what you doing
out of nowhere. 27.8% in United Kingdom. Don't crack your neck, please. That freaks me out.
Did you hear that?
That was disgusting.
Just thought that.
25.9% in Ireland. So they're a bit lower, but they cheated, the famine.
We'll leave that there.
They've got the famine card. And I just wrote underneath it, Asian countries much lower.
Very lower though.
Yeah.
Very low.
Like they were in the... Like Vietnam was like 1.5% or something, and I was like, I don't believe that. I get chased off. The only reason I escaped a Vietnamese guy chasing me with a machete is because I was a lot lighter than him. Pretty much. So off of that anecdote, I don't believe that stuff. Because how are they measuring this?
Well, that's what I always see with any studies and any statistic of X%. You think, how do they measure it? And it probably, if you look at how the UK measures it, it's data from how we all get that form that we fill out and we all go to our doctors for checkups.
Filled out a form.
Absolutely, exactly. So that's exactly.
I don't
point.
fill out forms. So if someone sends me a form, I get put in the bin.
See you later. But yeah, it's all scraped from like the NHS, for example. And the last time I went to the NHS, yes, maybe clinically, if they're going on the BMI perspective, I'll be classed as overweight or obese. But I think,
would you be near obese? You wouldn't be obese, would you?
Close to it. I think close to it. I think in my prep days, absolutely. That's it. It's the fucking steroids, mate. But no, like when you think about it, like when they're scraping the data, it can be so skewed. But for me, you just need to go down a high street, especially in Scotland, or going into your local town and look about. And majority of people you'll see is overweight.
Yeah. I don't think they're massively off.
No.
I just want to know how they come up with it, because I haven't been weighed in like a doctor's. I don't know, in a long, long time. So I was just wondering how they actually come up with it, because that would be like the Asian countries. I did see overweight people when I was in Asia, in Thailand and stuff. I'd say they're well lower, but
absolutely,
I wouldn't say they were as low as what was. And this is just complete observation. And I just feel like there'd be advantages to maybe skewing that data and stuff.
Yeah, have you seen the?
Because everyone skewed the COVID data.
I was going to say, did you see that a third of COVID deaths 1/3 of COVID deaths were nothing to do with COVID. I was just listening to something this morning, and I was like, "You fucking shitting me?" So remember all those whistleblowers that were like, "No, like the data's skewed." They were getting taken off Twitter, taken off Instagram. This is like proper conspiracy shit, but I'm all here for it. I love it.
There we go.
Get your seatbelts on, folks.
We've left obesity.
We're straight into COVID.
We're right into COVID. It's been 3 years.
When it gets to that stuff, you need to think like, why? There's always an agenda behind something. And
yeah.
Obviously, that was to push out vaccines and whatever, like sell the whatever it is they need to sell.
Straight into the vaccine
So
chat.
that's it. Straight into this podcast is getting delisted.
We have left the original topic.
But you know what I mean. So, I always heard an argument when I was getting into health and fitness, and I don't believe it, but it does cross my mind sometimes that if you look at how the world's run, they want people to be more overweight and obese and all that sort of stuff because they can be controlled more and that sort of thing. Now, I'm not a big believer of this message because I'm not saying that's slower. Why. Well, they're like more given to whatever kind of message is being pushed out, or you have to rely on medication more and all this sort of stuff. So it kind of fills the pockets of the billionaires. If you look at that, I remember hearing that and going, "That's a load of shite." And then I can see a little bit of the argument, but then at the end of the day, we can press 2 buttons on our phone and food can be delivered to our door. That wasn't a thing just 10 years ago or 20 years ago when you look at the comparisons to why obesity is on the rise. I think there's much more that plays into it, and like you said, it starts a very complex subject and it's hard to tackle.
I think you are onto something, and I think it's more just I would say obesity is like an indirect cause of what they are trying to do. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in, it is about money with pharmaceutical companies, with even just whatever the top 500 companies are in the world, tech as well. It is all about money, and like rising rates of depression and anxiety and obesity and drug use and alcohol use would probably just be a byproduct of all of those things. Because some of the back to the stats,
back to Gavin's cheat sheet of stats here.
I'm the stat man.
Very well vetted as well.
Yes, definitely right. So obesity in children, right? 13% in most deprived areas and 6% in least deprived areas. So like a lot heavier children in Easterhouse. There's less in Mulgai. 12 when we get to about 12 years of age, it's about 30% in most deprived areas and 13 to 14% in least deprived areas. How do you feel about that, and what do you think the cause of that is?
Well, I think in lower income households, they're the ones like, so Gillian got a job in Domino's when she got let go of her job in lockdown, and she always used to say,
I thought
to
you
me,
meant recently.
No,
I was like,
she
that quiet.
She gets sacked as well. It's a fucking hilarious story. But she always said to me, the people that buy pizzas, I'm not going to the big fancy estates. It's always like the council estates. And if you look at a lower income, you walk down like a scheme, for example, and you glance in the window, it's a big fuck off TV in the window. So I feel like, yes, like I don't know, I don't know what the cause is, but if I draw a conclusion to that, it would be something along the lines of escape from reality, like the materialistic stuff, or like, I don't know, is it? It's hard to tell because you think there's not much education in general around prepping your fucking food, and takeaways is I don't know if it's a cultural thing in Scotland, but like
I would go a bit a different way. Not necessarily a woke way. Like, I'm not actually trying to be fucking like more progressive or woke, but I do like processed food and like takeaways and stuff is cheaper if you're. Say you've got 3 kids or whatever, and you are on the breadline all the time, the money stress you've got all the time, and the ease of access to cheaper foods. Like, if you're stressed about money, you're just struggling to get by, you're just even to put food on the table for the kids, the mental stress you've got with that, and then like you might have to work like fuck to get Also, some people might be on benefits. That's a different story. But say you're not on benefits and you're working. Imagine coming home to 3 kids and you're on the breadline. You've done 45, 50 hours that week. You are going to want to choose.
The easiest thing. And
it's cheaper. It works better for everything. Finance, not obviously because you might end up overweight and that's got long. But short term, it works better in the moment.
Because like I used to get ready meals all the time, and I know that was a convenience thing with my stepmom and my mum and dad split up, and I used to go to my dad's, and it was £2.30 meal, like chicken curries and that, 2 minutes in the microwave, and I know that
I used to eat those pasta and sauce things.
Same. And
so
convenience.
The mac and cheese microwave. Do you remember the red mac and cheese packs?
Kinda.
You know
it's
what?
almost like a
it's like
super
pasta
noodle
and
type of
sauce,
thing.
but it's in a red box. And I think we used to just get them because of the cheapness.
Yeah.
Do you want my X Factor story? We were on benefits.
Were you?
Yeah. My mum didn't work. She worked up until about 12. And then we were on benefits. And that's how I get fat, you know.
Is it?
Stay in the economy.
So there's an interesting question when you're comparing it to... Also, obesity is definitely rising in kids, right? I can't remember the stats. I can't remember the stats. You should actually call out internships for chat shit get cancelled, mate. Fact checkers and all that. But it's definitely rising, and it can be down to a number of things. But do you think that's down to parents? So this is always quite controversial, this one, isn't it? So is it like, because we always inherit fucking whatever it is from our mums and dads, but do you think there is a certain level of responsibility from parents?
Absolutely, but how are you going to stop people having kids that aren't prepared to try to be good parents? Do you know what I mean? I think people have kids and don't think, oh, what I teach them is what they learn. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or the environments that kind of allow them to hang in. I don't think a lot of people... I think... completely different fucking tangent, but I do think our generation, hopefully...
More aware.
At least more aware. I would say that I think what we need to do with obesity is what we are sort of doing with mental health. Like, look how much we are talking about mental health, the campaigns, everybody's talking about it. I made a podcast about going for therapy. I would have never went in 10, 15 years ago in that environment. I would have never went for therapy at this age.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think what we're doing with mental health, we need to do with obesity. I think there's absolutely zero, like minimal attempt from the government to do anything about obesity. I think they go into it and go, oh, this is way more complicated. Like, it's environmental factors
in the front of the TV that'll sort it.
Environmental factors, educational factors, the economy, class, and how much money like companies that make processed food make. It's all, a lot of it's to do with money as well, and I don't think they're prepared to go down that rabbit hole.
Well, I think they're not prepared to fix the root cause, but they're prepared to like push a drug like the Wegovy drug now.
More money,
exactly, and
more money, more problems. Dale.
So remember I was telling you I used to train a doctor. So Gillian told me this since I saw you last, that they've had to stop the waiting list for this drug. And she's got somebody that we're going to get on the podcast who's like very advocate of fixing the root cause, not just giving a pill for whatever. But the waiting list is like 3 years for this drug now, that they've had to cancel people getting on the waiting list because so many people.
That's because the Kardashians promoted it, mate. Well, and then people are buying. So I've learned a lot about this as well from the guy who was talking about gastric sleeves.
You're going to say the Kardashians. I was like,
that was my research. Fucking 3 series of the Kardashians. Yeah, this is how we solve it. But he was talking about it, and so was Jen, who had the gastric sleeve. You can't, like, that's already like selling out, the new weight loss drug that they're talking about, because people are buying it, and people that don't need it are buying it as well. Stressed about the cameras.
No, I just couldn't see the red light there. I was making sure they're on.
So yeah, but it's just like putting a plaster on, though. It really, really is. So even talking to that Jen with a gastric sleeve, I think she is like, out of the people, I think she maybe went with a group with like 8 people. Probably 1 or 2 of them had her sort of mindset, and where she actually still goes to the gym and stuff, where the rest of them were just like, this is literally a plaster. Yeah. Don't change anything. Get a gastric sleeve. I can't eat as much. Done.
But this is where, like you say, the gut is to get more money. But when you look at the media around that, is the Wegovy drug, or if I'm pronouncing that right, it's not about here's what it does, here's what it does. It's like, oh my God, it drops obesity rates by X amount of % over the course of 6 months. They don't tell you the year stat or the 2 year stat. That
what about the fact people can't afford to keep taking it? What about the fact they're not going to change their lifestyle? What about the fact there's no money put into support for them to change their lifestyle, which they're going to have to do if it's going to do anything? What about all those?
If you had a pill that you could take, then the next day you'd wake up and you'd lose all your body fat. There's no fixing the problem because you've not tackled, which is probably what you've got in here to go into, the actual deeply rooted causes of why you're there in the first place. And this is what this drug just curbs hunger, right? It just, the craving for hunger, it quietens that signal. That's all it does. There's a few side effects it does that. So it's a great tool to use if you are in a cut and you find your hunger's in that, but if you're not aware of why you're in that cut or you've not got your calories to like a decent step, there's so much that you can go into with it, but there's none of that message being pushed that, but here's how it works. No, it just works. And
well,
it works
the biggest
for
mistake I find people make with weight loss is they just go, I just need to eat less calories, and that's all they do. And that drug, all that does is allow them to stick to it, to be easier to eat less calories, but it doesn't change the fact that they emotionally eat.
Yeah.
It doesn't change the fact that they maybe emotionally eat because of their life. And it doesn't change the type of foods that they go for, probably. A lot of people that will take this weight loss drug will just eat less of the same foods.
Aye.
Less processed foods. Do you know what I mean? Less of the takeaway they buy. They can't finish it, but it's still the same foods.
And they end up deficient because they were actually getting a decent level of salt and fibre, and then when they cut all these shitty foods for a short period, they're like, I feel shitter and I'm meant to be healthier. And they're like, fuck this. This isn't for me.
Well, I've been getting a lot of messages about I shouldn't be promoting gastric sleeves, which I knew I would get, and I would love to just... I would love to just sit down with those people and go, where did I say get one?
20% discount in my bio. Use code
GAV20. GAV sleeve 20. And I'll get you on a flight to Turkey. But I just wanted to learn about it.
Yeah.
And from learning about it, I now understand more of the people that... Because once you become obese, the longer you've been obese, or like the bigger you get, the more complications you have, and the harder it is to really reverse it, because I'm torn between the whole like treating obesity as a disease. That's a whole topic as well. But at the same time, like, I'm not against that, by the way. Like, if that helps remove sort of stigma and it does help the problem, I don't really care if it's referred to as a disease or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But it's when you become obese, you do then open yourself up to like
more risks.
Yeah. And that they are like diabetes and stuff, and those sort of things will make it harder and harder for people to lose weight after that. Where was I going with this topic? Could you tell me? There was a journey on the end of that sentence, and
because of the gastric sleeve attack.
Yeah,
yeah,
thank God, I knew where I was going.
I'll be your intern.
And so all it taught me was, not all it taught me, but the most valuable thing I learned was it is a good tool for someone that has got to a point where it's going to be ridiculously hard. But the problem is, just like the weight loss drug with Turkey and stuff, now loads of people that really shouldn't be getting one and aren't thinking of the consequences of getting one, because the consequences are huge, mate. Like, and you don't take your vitamins and the like the stuff they give you, because you literally can't absorb the same amount, and it's because of the space in your stomach. You don't have as much space to absorb vitamins, even if you get them in. That's why you need to be on supplements for the rest of your life. If you don't do that, there's even worse complications. So like a lot of people will just take these weight loss drugs, take these, or like get gastric sleeves and never fix any of these things, and not do the things, because it's just as much as a pain in the arse to do all of that than it is to sometimes like do what you need to do anyway.
Aye.
So I don't know, like I actually became more pro gastric sleeve for people in dire need of them. I was like, that can save lives. And then I probably became more aware of how dangerous they are for a lot of other people that are looking into them as well.
It's crazy. Obesity it's definitely close to my heart why I came into this, because if you look at us as personal trainers and coaches in the fitness space, and there's two sides to this, but I believe we're the only one of the major groups that's going to push to combat the message if it can ever be combated. I don't see any other group doing that, as much as doctors and physicians and biochemists and all that are working on these sticky plasters or solutions to combat the aftermath to save people's lives when they get to a certain extent. But I think our part in an individual's journey to nip that in the bud, I think we've got a massive amount of responsibility to try and nip it in the bud or try and help somebody through that journey. I was just thinking, I would say about 40% of my clients that I've worked with over the last couple of years have fell into the obese category. A lot of overweight clients as well, and very mixed, but I've had some great success with the clients that I've dealt with in the obese, that fell into that obese category, and it's a tough journey. And I think a lot of them, when I'm thinking about it,
it's much tougher
huge.
than getting someone to lose a stone and a half.
You almost need to kind of treat it as a different category to when you apply to training, because simple things like just going up and down stairs and all that sort of things are complicated. So a stupid, and this is where the fitness side, like, yes, it's great that we've got the responsibility, but this is when the fitness space can be just as fucking guilty for pushing the message.
Oh mate, this is fucking shit.
Aye,
like,
so
we're a minority of personal trainers that have this outlook, and we're a minority of personal trainers that have a different approach and a more empathetic approach. We are a minority, but I think that minority is getting bigger. But we're definitely, most PTs are I took roids and I'm going to get everybody shredded.
It's all about before and after, or it's I can get you shredded in a short amount of time, or whatever it is. But that to me is a major driver, a major component of why the response for someone making the choice of going, I want to look after my health and fitness. They look at the fitness space and what they see through their lens, and they see a couple of these PTs, or they see a couple of these coaches or influencers or whatever, and they see burpees and fucking box jumps and HIIT classes and all this crazy stuff, and they're like, fuck that, I'd rather be fat. And I don't fucking blame them. I absolutely don't. And this has been a hard message to fight against when I've gotten some of these clients is, look, you work with me, we're not doing one single burpee. It's like, I don't need you doing cardio. I says, we're going to take our time, we're going to work out once a week. How does that sound? But am I going to get results at that? Well, if you don't, I'll give you your money back.
If you trust me.
Aye, like, honestly, that's
you
how...
fucking froth that money back thing these
Mate,
days.
I do.
I'll give it back.
Take your money. Take your money.
If you don't do it...
Is to, because that's one of the big things as well. Like, people, it is an expense to like look after your health and fitness, but it's damn more expensive when that's just Cooper in the background.
Shit myself.
Probably Brian came in or something. But where was I going with that? It's damn more expensive the later you get in life, when you think about all the events that you might miss, all the things that you can't do, and then the risk of diseases and cancers and everything else. And a lot of flack for this last time we spoke about this, and I was quite defensive at the start, because it does mean a lot. Like, I'm trying to fucking help people out, and I completely got the person's point, and she seen it from the other. I think this person had messaged me and they were overweight, they might have even fell into the obese category, and then they'd done the wrong methods to lose the weight and felt worse. They actually felt better when they were overweight, or when they were obese. And she's now grabbed onto that kind of feeling of, that's how I lose weight, and probably will never go back to that weight loss journey again because of her experience and how she went about it.
Well, this is what the whole body positivity movement is all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
And because we're having to break down barriers that you're like, so it's not just what the environment that we've created as society, or like the government has created with more money and like more processed foods and like capitalism, basically. And by the way, I'm not pure left, and I honestly don't give a fuck about politics. I don't want, but this involves...
Blame the Tories.
Yeah,
blame the Tories.
Tory bastards, man. Fucking those fucking people from, where they from? Surrey. The bastards. But not just only that's contributing to things. The fitness industry has made it so toxic for people, even like, and we are, if you think about it, so the NHS itself, right, it has so little funding that there's like, I think it's 4 tiers. Again, Statman doesn't know his facts. I think it's like 4 tiers. So say like tier 4 is weight loss surgery, and then tier 3 is like actual clinics that are kind of similar job to what we do, but they've got gyms and they're getting people to exercise, and it'll be counselling and stuff like that as well. But half the time, man, we are unqualified therapists with some stuff.
Yeah.
So when that gets taken away, I forgot the destination of my point again. What were you saying?
You were saying the 4 tiers.
But you said something before. What was your point? About the bod, about people's feeling like they don't have any more options but to just remain the same weight. So we are now fighting against the environment that's created and the toxic solution that fitness companies have gave people for years and years and years. So it's very hard for us to break that down. Our job, I don't think my job is harder than anyone else's, but it's fucking difficult to get people to change their habits and trust us at the same time. I'm not saying, hey, I've got a harder job than anyone else, but it is fucking difficult.
Yeah. The easy part about our jobs is actually the lifting weight side of things.
Oh, piss easy.
I know. And that's where, when you're looking at getting into PT and you start to realise, fuck, this is a lot different to what I thought. I thought, here's your reps, here's your sets, here's your plan, follow it.
And here's your calories, and you'll just stick to them and you'll lose weight and then it'll be over.
I think that's why I think the message of the fitness space is definitely, like you say, it's getting better. But I think there's a lot of newbies coming into it, which is great. I'm all for people learning the curve. But with that new injection of PTs coming into the market, there's like a lack of wisdom and experience of, you need to go through that almost yourself to like truly understand it. And it's not till you get your first client and you start to get a bit of kickback. And you can go two ways with it. You can go, fuck them, they're just too lazy.
The client's always wrong.
And if you're in that mindset, we just done a podcast on this, like how to become a good PT. Like a big component of PTing is being empathetic. You need to genuinely have true empathy for a person's situation, especially someone who is obese. And it's not to treat them any different, but it's to go, look, like there's no judgment here. There's no shamefulness or whatever. Yeah. I'm genuinely empathetic towards them and I'm going to help you get there, but I need you to trust me and be open and honest with me.
And I think half the battle is, no matter how good a PT you are, you're going to have to accept that some people just won't. And then still having the resilience to be empathetic to everyone else.
I know,
take
it to heart.
Those free clients that are just not going to fucking do it.
Yeah.
That's something that's challenging as well. Because I think half of our job is just being a proper people's persons and just people's persons. That sounded so stupid.
You need to be. Need to be.
Right, so if we go back to the main topic, what do you think is the main cause of obesity? Did I ask you like that? No,
we touched on it a wee bit. So we touched on politics, the government, Tories. The environment, Tories. Absolutely, is the Tories, right? Let's just get that out there. I think
one of those glass domes over Surrey and all.
I think in Thurso as well.
Just chop them off, man.
Shouldn't even be part of Scotland.
Get them to fuck.
So I don't think there is one probable cause of it. I think it is a multitude of multiple different things that play into it. But I strongly do believe that tech is one of the major components as to why people are moving less and becoming like we're slowly losing the ability to walk. I'm calling that out right now. Like you seen that film WALL-E? That's where the robots, and at the end it's all they're like super. I think they're like super overweight and they're all in chairs and they just sit there and everything is done for them. WALL-E's the Disney film.
Mate, I watched a program the other night. And I think it's a really famous actor, but the guy's like morbidly obese, and he gains weight because he becomes gay, cheats on his wife with one of his students, and then his new partner dies, right. And that's how he gains all the weight, and he dies at the end of it, and that's a good watch.
I honestly thought you were going to go down the route of gays is the main reason people are obese. I was like, whoa, this is definitely chat shit get cancelled today.
This guy has an agenda today.
No, but in all honesty, tech's a big component of this. I've seen it in just throughout my 20s, for example. And I think we're kind of similar ages. I was growing up through school.
You're older.
I know I'm a couple of years older, right?
You're touching 30.
30 in September. But going through school, the like online or the internet era where social media and all that, it was starting to become a thing. But we still went out and played, like gaming. As much as I was a big gamer, that was kind of like my later teenage years or my teenage years that started to happen, and that was a crux. I loved PE. I was very competitive with sport, and I think if I look at me and my brother, for example, my brother, he's obese, or he was obese, slowly kind of reversing that for himself. And here's two people under the same household, except he's 3 years younger than me, so he fell into the gaming a wee bit earlier. And I'm not saying it's because of gaming, but it's definitely technology. And I remember hearing on the TV, it's like, you can jump online and play with, in your upstairs bedroom, you can play a game with someone in their downstairs living room in America. And I was like, that sounds mental. Like, how's that so fascinating? And this was what age? I was about 11 or 12. So
like Xbox 360s, isn't it?
This was the Xbox 360. I
remember that, mate, Halo.
Honestly, I remember the news talking about it when I was younger, and I was like, that sounds so cool. And that happened just as I was going into high school. And if I kind of was out playing with friends and that, but I was just as much indoors. I was still very fascinated at practicing basketball. I had a trampoline in my back garden. I used to play it for 3 years, so I was still active. But I can see how, from my brother's perspective, he had a different experience. He right from the start, that was how he communicated with friends. That's how they had fun. That's how they played. Now, he still went out, and then I guess we all go through an era of drinking, finding alcohol, drugs, and all that sort of thing. I skipped that completely. I gamed and worked out. They were my two things. His was gaming and going out with his friends and all that sort of stuff. So it's, to me, tech has a big part to play with it, because here we are, just in the last 5 years, we didn't have Uber Eats and fucking... You had to phone up the Chinese to get a Chinese takeaway. When you think about the anxiety and all that, like, people don't like speaking on the phone. They're like, oh, I can just press two buttons.
I had to, genuinely, my schoolmates were so socially awkward that any time we ordered food on the phone or a restaurant, I had to do it.
See?
For the full table.
So
and then I would let them do it sometimes, and we go, and I'll be like, fucking, he wants a steak.
Aye. And that is so common, but even that is why, well, not why, but you can imagine the amount of more people that it's like, I don't need to speak to anyone. Boom, boom, I can get my takeaway now. That would have stopped people from eating out, probably, or getting a takeaway before. It's not just takeaways, like processed foods, the marketing that goes into that. That's fucking fascinating to me, that how more money goes into the marketing and engineering of a chocolate bar, of how it feels in your hands, how it tastes, how it looks, than it does the actual ingredients itself, the actual product itself.
Apparently they threw 100 million like obesity like 2 years ago or whatever, but just done it last minute. Now, I don't understand anything about government funding or how that gets distributed, or like who gets that 100 million. Do they just get it in their bank and then go, here, I have to spend this? What did I spend it on? Don't really know how any of that works, but then apparently the next year they were saying that for the next 3 years they're going to get that funding. Then the year after that, like just before it, they done away with it. And the only thing I can remember in the last few years, because you'd have think COVID would have been a shock, like it was pretty well known that obesity was one of the biggest contributing factors to, if you might... At
4 times, I'm sure it was 3 or 4 times your chances of...
You would think when you that after that, they would go, right, this needs to be solved.
I mean, even forget COVID for a minute, like anything that you get, if you're obese going into that operation, that whatever it is, anything kind of medical, then your risk is higher. But equally, so it is if you're underweight. Like, I think that's a lot. This is what I was trying to say actually earlier on, that the flack I got was like, obesity is not like one of the main causes. Like, people being underweight, there's actually more damage with people being underweight. And I'm like, yeah, there absolutely is, and that's a conversation that needs to be had. But when we're getting to close to majority of our population is edging towards being obese, there's more strain on everything.
It's a bigger problem.
Yeah, and I'm not saying one's right.
It's a more severe problem, but it's more common.
And I think that's the point I want to give it in this, because I think people listening sometimes will go, but such and such is obese and they're so healthy. Then my pal who's underweight, like, I know such and such, she's skinny, but she's got all these problems and whatever. And it's like, but you're not comparing apples to oranges. It's just genetically speaking, as a whole, we know there is more risks involved with it.
You're always going to get people moaning.
Aye, there's always like, but what about
We're
this?
just two men spitting facts.
Straight up facts.
Well researched. I think what I want to make sure that we say at one point is like, pretty much most of my job, my goal is to help people that are struggling in those situations. So because I know how it felt when I was younger, from like my dad would make me go runs, and I remember that I've been like 2 or 3 specific times when I actually like commented on my weight, or maybe even used the word fat or chubby. I think chubby was worse. Chubby was worse. Don't know why people thought I was better, but it was worse. And I turned to food every time. So when we're saying all this, like, we know it's a very real problem, and we would probably be one of the most, like, we would be the type of coaches that, like, I don't even bring up people's weight or whatever to them, like, because I was watching a video on the woman who was obese, and she'd had help through these clinics I was talking about, and she'd lost 5 stone, and then they pulled the funding for the clinic, so the clinic went down, and she was like, I can't do this. And I went to the doctors, and they were like, if you don't sort this out, like, you'll be gone, like, you are morbidly obese. And she's like, I know all this. What does calling me morbidly obese actually solve?
Yeah.
So why you don't even really, because you don't need to mention it.
Nah, and I think that's where people identify, like you said, the being called chubby growing up. I remember my stepdad calling my brother fat boy, fatty. Hurry up, fatty, we're going out, come on, fatty. I was baboon, because I don't know, my fucking bed head was up the back. It's mad that you don't think, like, in the moment, it's fat boy or fatty was definitely like a Scottish thing. That and gay boy, that was just like the 2 go-to fucking...
We had a corner in the playground that we used to call the gay corner. This is outdated.
It does not age well at all.
We were about 8 or 9, and I'm 28 now, so 20 years ago. But we did used to throw people in there.
Yeah, gay. But gay was...
But we were like 8.
No, but
so
also, you want to mean in gay in the sense like, oh, you fancy on a man. Gay meant a different... I feel gay meant a different thing for us.
Gay
for
was
sure.
just...
It was like...
some sort of like... Because I didn't even know what like
sex
was.
It was
so
it's almost like the word fuck. It's like, oh, that's gay, or that's stupid, or what. But then now being older, I'm like, fucking hell, that did not age well.
Glasgow schools are brutal.
Aye, absolutely. I wonder what they're like now. I do think that sometimes, but I've got a stepbrother who's 9, 10. It'll be interesting to see him going through that.
Listen, I've got a lot of empathy for people that are like overweight and obese, struggling with their weight. I have no empathy for teachers who go through school in Glasgow and then decide, do you know what?
I've got to do that again for life.
That would be another end of that. What are you doing?
No,
and then
no
they
chance.
go and complain about it. Like, you watched that for 15 years of your life. You seen what happens in there, and you
chose to go back to it.
We ruined people's lives, and you chose to be in the other end.
The life ruiner. So, what would you draw conclusions to as to why obesity is rising?
I think they're all, again, multifactorial. If I was to say the biggest one, like, so everything you said is I agree with, but I think the biggest one is processed food, and just how cheap it is and how accessible it is.
Too easy, isn't it?
Like, if you go to Tesco right now, the amount of processed food that's just there straight away, and how much cheaper it is and stuff like that. I don't think they had access to that. There was another video I watched where it showed you, like, I don't know how they come up with this, but he just lined up loads of baskets of what a diet looked like in a household in the 70s and 80s. I think also there wasn't as much.
It wasn't much variety at all.
My dad, but my dad also tells me about how they couldn't afford even just an amount of food. Like, they were hungry quite a lot.
It was less in quantity.
Like, my dad used to tell me that he used to get up in the middle of the night and raid the biscuit tin, and he thinks that's why he's 3 inches bigger than my brother. But it would show you, like, 68% of their diet was, like, just whole foods, and then, like, 25% was, like, processed, because it's technology and stuff that's allowed them to make all this different type of processed food as well. And now it's, like, much more skewed the other way, where it's, like, 60% processed food. It's the access we have to it, and how there's so much, like, empty calories and stuff that we consume as well, and how how accessible it is and how nice it is.
Yeah, I think education's another part though as well, because you look at the health aisle, and health aisle is now is vegan or non-meat stuff. Like it's mad how we go right. Okay, we need to fix this. It's no processed food. It's
we need
steak,
to fix this,
it's
but
beef,
how?
It's chicken. It's get rid of all that.
How do
vegans.
we fix this and make hundreds of money?
Well, everything needs to be. That's the things that grabs attention and gets traction. Stuff that makes the most profit into it. So
Right,
everyone wants to be.
This was
rich.
the main part of the podcast, right? But we've had some good chats in between. But this is what I wanted to do, right? So if there's a new job opening up in the government and it's got your name on it, right? And it's just like Dale is the man to solve obesity. We're giving them unlimited funding and access to make 3 new laws or whatever, 5 new laws. Basically, you've been given the problem and you've also been given the money, and you're now allowed to change the law.
What am I doing?
What are you doing? You don't have to use 5 different laws or whatever, but just what are you doing?
I'm launching the Starting Strong workshops. I've mentioned that at the start, by the way. Link below.
And by the way, I don't need the funding because there's a money back guarantee.
No, it's a good question, because it's like how do you solve it? How do you nip it in the bud? But I think it all comes down to awareness. Anything you think about, I think about all the clients I've helped in the last year and the ones that have had the most success. It wasn't because I had the best programming or we put them on the best diet or the best training plan. It's because we understood where the fuck they were at, right? So we need to understand that first. So I think a bit of time and needs to get spent. I don't know how you grasp that, but if I think of any obese client that I've had, any overweight, we know it's been from an overconsumption of food, right? We know that that's a given, right? That's happened.
Or even just, I prefer saying overconsumption of calories, because then it lets you know that you need, like, because you can eat just as much food. You're right. So it's kind of education and around that. It's like, where are you? What have you done in the past? Because that gives me a good indication of where we go next. And at the end of the day, I think that combined with realistic expectations is a good recipe for success. So a lot of people that go, right, I mean, you don't need to tell them. You're like, people who do fall into the obese category, they know it, right? So, like you said, you don't need to get the label of you're morbidly obese. I don't think you need to tell someone who's overweight or obese once, or here, we're trying to fix the fact you're obese. They know.
But that's also a thing as well. It's not your identity. And I think that's a good thing about the body positivity message, and that's what the crux of that message should be. It's no celebrating that you're obese. It's going, that is what it is, and people are in those shapes and sizes. But true body positivity and self-love is looking after yourself, and as long as you're doing something for that, then so be it. So awareness and then expectations would be like, realistically, what's the next little while going to look like for you? And I think signing up to, like, this is forever and not this is for 8 weeks, this is for as quick as I can lose this weight, I think that is a good starting point.
But how do you implement this as the Dale the Obesity Man?
So Dale the Obesity, is that the obesity CEO?
Yeah.
So the awareness side of things, what I'm looking at in that with an individual is, what's your past history with food?
Fuck the individual.
People?
You've got you're trying to get
you mean
the
like
rates down of obesity, not one person. So, like, you're looking at it from the whole of the UK, and you hold the cards.
I think it makes sense to start with kids. So there's an element that's tackled. So in schools, I think PE is obviously, that's getting pushed a wee bit more. So that is something that I think English governments are doing a wee bit more, that making sure that's a mandatory subject.
Jamie that does freestyle and he does workshops in schools. The reason he can do that in England is because there's a thing called, I can't remember the name of it, but schools get, sorry if you're in a primary school and they don't get this in England, but I'm pretty sure they have they get like 20 grand to spend on different sports, so that's why he qualifies for that. And they can't spend it on like football or rugby coaching. It has to be on something different to get kids interested in exercise. So the week that he teaches kids freestyle, they have like Brazilian salsa dancers in and like sprint coaches and all of this, because they're trying to get them to
I learn new skills
exercise.
in that. So I think PE itself is almost, I feel like it should be a different subject that comes into play and is education around it, because it's physical education. But I learned about sports movements, and it was all sports stuff. There was a little athletic stuff, but there was nothing about fundamentals of foods and what energy is, and whether you would listen to that or not. If you're a kid, at least it's something that's mandatory in the curriculum. Combine that with like lifting weights, like your compound movements. I think they're fundamental human movements that I honestly think we'll lose very quickly if we don't see more people push that message. A lot of people can barely squat now. A lot of people struggle sitting up and down off the chair, going up and down stairs, and that's all squats and deadlifts and
How are you
overhead
tackling
presses.
food though?
So food, I think it's a hard one, because on one hand, to be generic, you also need to have like specific like lanes that you do go into, because a generic statement never really works for food. I actually think the food pyramid that we've got for the UK ain't a bad starting point. It's like,
Can't even remember what it looks
it's like meats, fish, eggs, and then the kind of like your veggies, and then it goes down and it's like milk, yogurts, cheeses. So it's no bad. It ain't bad, and that's why Slimming World is so successful. Weight Watchers, because what they do is we know how complex calories and diets and all that can be. But the reason these are so successful is because they make it simple. That's 3 sins. That's 2 points. Whether it's bullshit or not,
it's simple. They get people to go there, but they don't offer the support and shit that you actually need.
And I think if you're trying to tackle your obesity and get health and get healthier in the sense of losing weight, a couple of rules around it of just focus on this amount of protein from these types of foods, and let everything else kind of take care of itself. That and fibre would be the 2 things I would tackle. Fuck calories. I wouldn't even give calorie targets or anything
I
like
think
that.
fibre and protein would be protein, and fruit and veg would be.
It's like the 2 go-tos.
If you have goals for them and you're aiming for them, it doesn't have to be, because you aren't going to get everyone to be like, I'm going to track 150 grams of protein today or whatever it is. You aren't going to get average people tracking that. But if you can give them like, that's why
easy rules.
Yeah, really easy, like
easy
fucking
rules.
easy rules to follow.
So I would go down that route first with the food side of things, and that in return would be a good starting point. And then
I'm going well more radical, man.
Were you going like get rid of foods?
I don't think they actually are trying to tackle it at all. I think they have people working within obesity clinics and stuff like that, but they don't have like teams of people trying to figure out how to get obesity down or implementing anything they're talking about. So if I look at like when you go to the doctors and you say you're obese, they have those 4 tiers, right? I think one of them's like fucking what. This will all be wrong. One of them will be whatever, like online, like a course or whatever, maybe. I think 2 is like fucking Slimming World, Weight Watchers type of things.
That step there that I think, see in America, like private physios can get claim, like you in your health insurance, you can claim on your health insurance and get seen to if you've got knee pain or ankle pain. I think the same thing should happen with our health insurance at that point if you're at that stage in your life, and you can use that towards a vetted PT.
And then like the third one is like we talked about with those clinics, but the gastric sleeve guy I had on, or the medical doctor, that works in that surgery, he was like in Aberdeen, that's no longer a thing. So they don't have the funding for any of it. So they're not funding these things that are, if someone is overweight, the first thing they need is support. They're like, if you imagine you're in a position where you're obese, really stressed, struggling with depression or whatever, whether that's linked to you being overweight or you're overweight because of being depressed or whatever, it's all complicated. But the first thing you need is support. You're not, the likelihood of you being able to do that on your own is very slim. You can do it, but it's hard as fuck.
Yeah.
That's why our job's so important. So I think there needs to be funding for there being actual support groups with and it being tackled as like its own thing, where there's now teams of people, and I think they can use PTs because 80% of PTs fail in the first year because they can't make enough money. So if they had some sort of,
I think I would definitely class like your. In fact, it was obesity and diabetes was the course that I done my curriculum, and you were learning how when you're working with someone who is obese, it's a completely different ball game, and it was different structure, different workouts, different expectations. So that stuff does exist, but you're right, that needs to be pushed more.
It needs to be funded properly.
The one thing you're missing though, like the individual still needs to want to do it. And
so
I
this
think
is where I'm getting more radical.
Aye. And
that wasn't the radical part. This is where I will get more radical. Because, like you said, a lot of people won't want to do it. A lot of people will have became obese and won't take any responsibility for it. A lot of it will be to do with their environment or whatever. But some people, when they get there, honestly, like, a lot of people aren't going to change anything about their lives. Everybody knows people like this. They just something, like, life goes shit or whatever, and they just want to complain about it. There's plenty of those people in the world. So if you want to fix things like that, it gets way more complicated. And if you're talking about stats, and a lot of people in that scenario are going to be involved in the stats, aren't they? So if you think about, like, say you change the complete contents of your cupboards just for the next, like, 6 months, and it was filled with way more, like, biscuits, sweets or whatever, and you weren't allowed to track your food or whatever, your diet would take a massive hit. So imagine when you go into the shops, what's, like, promoted to you straight away, the aisles that you go down, straight away, the sales on the cheaper food and all that. I think all of that needs to change. There would need to be incentives to change a lot of the pricing on different foods, healthier foods being a lot cheaper, and there being a sort of incentive to buy to buy healthier foods, whether that's like you fucking get loads of points on an app or a system or whatever. Yeah. You think you're going to have to go down routes like that?
I think what you'll do though is create a black market for sweets and chocolate, because there's a reason why people still smoke cigarettes, right? So cigarettes is a good comparison.
I've got your package here for a gram of Coke and 10 Freddos.
I'm being serious though, like it's and I get where your head's going, but I don't know if that will ever, because at the end of the day, I think as human beings we've created something that does taste really fucking good. It's almost orgasmic when you fucking eat a bit of chocolate, especially if you like chocolate like me. Nutella, I love it. But what's the difference from where I'm at when I know these foods, like my weekly food shops, maybe about 120 quid for me and Jillian's food for a weekly food, and it's like, okay, why is that I'm making those choices? Not because I'm a PT. I think there's a big part around understanding how foods make me feel and all that sort of stuff, and that's easy for me to say sitting here and never kind of dealing with the challenges that a lot of other people would deal with. But I genuinely think you would as a byproduct you create a black market for that, because why, if we've created
and
something,
then I'd end up working in the black market.
You've like not a PT anymore. I'm Gavin, the fucking chocolate source.
10 Kit Kats.
So like why when we create these sort of stuff, and we have made it very cost effective.
That's what all the Tories do anyway.
That's it.
They just bring out all of these rules about COVID, and then they buy into the fucking the sanitising companies.
Aye, make a wee profit. But there's a reason why we made it cost effective, and it tastes good, but it's one part of the big complex subject of how do you tackle it. But you're right, you go into supermarkets, you look at the aisles. Like, I think there's a big part needs to be played from an education perspective to understand what food should be pushed, because you go down that route, doesn't matter what.
How do you get people to want to be educated on that though? Because you can only start, you don't really start from kids.
Start from kids, but it's our field, like you said. You look at the fitness space. I looked at what to get a 6-pack, and I seen 2 guys doing star jumps and side plank. I was like, what the fuck is this? Why is this still a message? And it's shit. Like, that's a big component.
That winds you up.
It does. I guarantee you, like, you could survey a bunch of obese people, right? or a bunch of people who are obese, and you think to them, why do you not working out? Or what's your thoughts when working out? Their mind goes to that, like very high intense sessions, super sweaty, really uncomfortable. They're already in agonising pain or discomfort from carrying excess amounts of weight. So when they see this sort of stuff, they're like, fuck that. Absolutely no chance in hell am I doing that. And that's why it will continue to rise along some of these other things. But to me, that's an easier message to try and change than fixing every supermarket around the world. Because I think if you look at Asian countries, like, their supermarkets aren't any different. They eat tons of rice, they eat tons of carbs. But what do they have that's different from us? Like, when you truly think about it, it's...
but their diet is completely different. What they cook.
Yeah, their diet. That's what I mean. Their diets are different, but their supermarkets still have access to these foods. It's not as if it's banned.
Their culture is a lot different on the foods they cook, though.
Mm.
Even like their restaurants, they cook a lot of the same foods that they eat at home in restaurants, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's what I mean from a culture.
So how do we change that?
Aye, so like
because our diet is fucking fish and chips, pizzas, like, and we didn't come up with pizzas.
No.
Do you know what I mean? So we've changed our culture to bring in Americanized and Italian food and whatever.
So and that's where I was going with that. Like, there's a cultural component as well, like that family and community and all that sort of stuff. Like, that's an element that needs to shift in the right direction, because where I see it is like we're getting further and further apart as a community. But I think these are all subcomponents. I generally think one of the main messages to try and, or main standpoints to try and tackle is, what does it look like to go from obese to not obese? What does that journey look like? Because a lot of people think that it's fucking salads, it's shit, low calorie diets, it's high intense workouts, it's shakes, it's sins, it's Weight Watchers. But that to me is almost part of the problem as well.
Yeah.
Like you said, you know for a fact if you train your methods and you create that as a course and bundle that up, you're going to have much higher chances of success to 100 obese people than what that journey does.
I
when you think
believe,
about it.
like, me and your solutions, they're only difficult in the beginning for the first like 6 to 8 weeks, and the only reason it's difficult is because we're like untraining your beliefs and your habits. I believe after that, because recently I've been thinking, right, for the first 8 weeks it's just me to be like getting them to trust me and getting them to do what those, like, the free workouts, track the food, not be perfect, even if it's like maintaining their weight or whatever. But then after the 8 weeks, they will feel better and they will trust me. Mm. And then from there on, it's actually way easier. But the struggle is getting them to that 8 weeks. Aye. But that's all I need. And then the way their brain thinks changes after.
It does because they start seeing the benefits, and that's all you need to get with a client, isn't it? It's all you need to get with someone is
8 weeks.
You can
I reckon
8
weeks.
You can
doing
see
all the workouts. They might fall off track down the line. Life might get busy, but they know what that 8 weeks of working out done for them and tracking their calories, eating more protein and more fruit and veg. They know what that done for them, so they get it.
Aye.
They get that they don't have to do fucking Joe Wicks or any of that.
Aye. But as a society and a culture, after that 8 weeks happens with that individual and they go to week 9 and week 10, they say to themselves, because they fell off for those 2 weeks, oh, fucked it. Oh, fucking fucked it, man. Shit.
Yeah.
I'm back to square one. And I love this quote, but I always say it. It's like the only way you can guarantee failing completely this is by giving up completely. I don't care if you work out today and you don't work out until next month. As long as you get back on to doing whatever it is that you were doing, drinking your water, getting 8 hours of sleep, you, on the long run, that will compound more and more, like the stock market, over the years. And you just get people, like, that's why if I can just get people to, like, get a good night's sleep consistently, drink a wee bit more water, everything else will fall into place. Because you're having a Chinese and a Friday night at 10 o'clock, keep me up to 2 in the morning, and you're hungover the next day.
Right, how do you feel about this? No European country is halting their obesity rates. The target was to return back to 2010 rates by 2025, and most of them are rising. Nobody has even halted it.
No chance. But also,
I'm not saying that was the goal, and it's clearly not gonna. It's like 2023 now, so I don't mean Like, do you think they will? I mean, it's not happening.
It's not happening.
How do you feel about it?
I think, is it not happening?
This is where I go. That's why I think we do need to be more radical.
Yeah.
Because it's just when I look at the population, how many people getting PTs affect, like people can't. So see where I'm going with that sort of thing as well is a lot of people can't afford us. This country there's a massive difference.
There needs to be funding. Aye.
There's a massive difference in the poor and the rich, and the poor can't afford us. It's very much the Ewan Miller made the point on my podcast. He was like, getting a personal trainer, as much as we would hate that, and I like got a wee bit triggered when he said it, it's a middle class thing. And I was like, I hate you saying that, but you're right.
But also, this is where the mindset and frame of mind comes in, because I've had some clients I know have came to me and have paid for my services, and it's a good chunk of their monthly expense. But they see the value in what you're getting.
Some people are
they'll never,
mate.
They'll never,
like,
they'll go
paycheck to paycheck. Can't get out of it.
Well, fuck it, they need to be fat, don't they? No, I'm kidding on. But you're right, I was saying that on purpose. I was saying that on purpose. No, but you're right, that's where the funding element, think how much money they've spent on this Wegovy drug. Like,
yeah.
Right?
See, now I like where you're going.
So, I'm sure it's close to the billions, mate. Billions of pounds. I don't know if you've ever done that exercise. Do you know how big a billion is? Have you looked at that? No. Let me blow your mind for a wee sec. Right, so imagine
how many zeros?
A million.
Is that 7?
No, so a million seconds, right? Imagine a million. 2 seconds. Let me get this up so I don't fuck it up. Million seconds and 2 billion. Right, so 1 million seconds in terms of time is 11.5 days. Okay, you with me?
Well, no.
Right, so
I'm very bad at staying
right,
with people and stuff like that.
So
right,
bear with me. 1 million seconds is 11.5 days in time. So if you imagine £1 million, convert that to seconds. You run the course of that will give you 11.5 days of time. Okay, 1 billion seconds is 31.5 years. Years, right?
31.5 years.
Years.
Okay.
That's insane. The comparisons of how much a billion is in terms of its monetary value. So £1 million will say you spent is that a penny every day? If you spent a penny every day, it would take you. No, that's a load of bullshit.
You're doing well,
so a pound's into it. I suppose it's seconds in pounds. Is that? I don't know. I'm fucking this up
seconds
completely.
Is 60 pounds.
Is it? So if you spent
100?
a pound. Nah, when they work as well. No. If you spent a pound for every second of the day, it would take you 11.5 days to completely spend that, right? If you spent a pound for every second for the next 31 and a half years, you'll reach your billion.
Yeah, that's mad.
That's a lot of fucking money.
Now, we'll end in a second, but we'll end on this is something that I thought about when I thought about 3 or 4 different things when I was doing this. But I was thinking, right, I think there is people that weight loss drug will benefit. I think it's very similar to the gastric sleeve component. But there's going to be thousands upon thousands of people it's going to be a plaster over a wound, and that's just going to come off. And I still think, and I would love to know. Because a lot of doctors will be doctors, by the way, who are absolutely 100%, I won't say smarter than you, but definitely smarter than me.
Oh, no, they are. They're absolutely smarter than us.
But what I always feel is they are being educated from the top of what, because research can be fabricated a lot, and there's a lot of research to show how much of the studies were fabricated for anxiety and depression medication so that people would take it and so doctors would prescribe it more. So I honestly don't know how convinced I am that they don't fabricate stuff for weight loss drugs to show doctors and to promote them want to use it, because I feel like we're going to come up against a similar thing that we have done with anxiety and depression, because people hate hearing it, especially if you are anxious or depressed. But a lot of the times, like, there is something that you can fix, or a lot of the times something that's something, by the way, that might not be your fault has happened to you in your life, and that leads you to be anxious or depressed. And then you can work on that, but that usually takes therapy, again, paying for things and stuff like that. But not every, like, the idea that you are clinically depressed from birth or whatever, or it's genetics, has been and, like, I don't know enough about this, but from all the therapists I've spoke to, and, like, my therapist that I had and stuff like that, he felt very strongly, because as much as that makes people feel better in the moment, it doesn't help the rising rates of it. It just makes someone feel better there and then, but they're still depressed and anxious and on medication for it. And I feel like that is also a plaster. Again, people in severe circumstances, that also might be saving lives, because it numbs quite a lot of the pain. So I do think there is a need for anxiety and depression medication, whatever it is. There is a need for weight loss surgery, and there is a need for weight loss drugs, but the way doctors hand it out, or the way they are, because I honestly don't blame doctors, the way they are being told to hand it out,
they're told to treat the problem,
and being underfunded, and also, like, a GP fucking
30
every
people a
10
day.
minutes having people come in telling them different things, and they don't have any time to, like, give them this, because someone who needs to lose weight, or someone who has all these problems that's leading them to being really severely depressed and anxious, a GP seeing them for 10 minutes can't do anything more than give them something to relieve their pain and their symptoms. So
I honestly think the solution that it's going to lie with is the fitness space. I can't see supermarkets changing this as much as you want.
I don't think they will. It was just more if I was given this fucking
pull the trigger,
made up role.
Rub the genie. 3 wishes, what happens? I want a big house, but I also want this stamp. So I want a Ferrari,
and I want to change how supermarkets operate.
Guys like that, what? I
would like my whole
a couple of times a week, please.
Every morning.
But with who? That's a question.
Every morning.
So it sits with our space, man. I don't see any other space, as much as you said about doctors and that. That's great. They'll continue to do their shit, but we need to change the message of how you lose weight and how you go through that journey. And it doesn't need to be a fucking grueling process. It can actually be fun, and it can be enjoyable. It's hard, but it doesn't need to be fucking military style, painful fucking exercises and restrictive diet. And
do you think we could do a talk in here?
That's I see. When you were saying about the workshops, I was genuinely thinking about launching a workshop specifically for
I'll do some
obesity.
stand up.
So we could do like I was genuinely thinking over a 6-month period of time, like, again, 4 individuals that want to come in and hand hold you through the process to show you, because then that's that if they are happy to use that as content. That's why I hate, like, what's the thing it's the TV show Biggest Loser. Fucking hate that. But see, the concept of that in the early days was actually really good. It was about people.
See, when I said it's brutal, I done that thing where I don't really know what it is.
So it's like a TV show.
I understand, like, the concept, but I've never seen it.
They get personal trainers on, and then it became a bit like Steve Cook done it. I love Steve Cook stuff, and I think he's a real good stand-up guy in the space. But at the end of the day, he drafted as a PT, and I heard him do an interview, and he goes, the whole thing killed me doing that. They wanted me getting these guys sweating, doing all that. So he's like, morally, and my integrity, it was fucking so hard, because I knew I could help these people much more beyond the fucking workouts that they were doing. But for TV, like, it was all like scripted and that sort of thing. But I think that to me is where it lies. It's the only. I don't see any other solution. Do you
think we could ever do in here, get like 30 seats and do like a talk?
Easy.
And then, like, anyone that came to the, we've come up with still fucking
launching next week.
Yeah, launching next week. It's 3 years ago.
Where you're going with that was one of the reasons I took this place. I was like, I'd love to get like a big group of people in there and do talks on things that I'm truly passionate about. That's why I started the podcast.
Get like 30 people in. There's a big screen thing. Can you use that, like, a projector?
You could, yeah. You wouldn't actually need it.
And then do that and have like 30 people in. Then after that, they can either go away with a free program, do the workshops, or do coaching with one of us or something.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a good idea. Stay tuned for.
If you want, like, if you would be up for that, us doing a talk on weight loss and lifting, and
even if we just created a framework for that,
because it would be even like the support that you would get, and then you'd meet 29 other people.
And that is actually one thing we not spoke about. When you go on your obesity journey, or your journey to like losing the weight or whatever, I don't know, not getting obese, a completely opposite way. But see when you go on that journey, it's hard. The hardest thing is the people around you, and if they don't change,
that's not really spoke about as well. Like because even like my dad would call me. By the way, my dad, legend. And whenever he'd done stuff like that, he would not realise the impact he's having on me. But like as soon as I actually was like tracking my calories, and I'd be losing weight, and I'd still be eating food at like 9 o'clock, he'd be like, "You can't eat after 6 if you want to lose weight." And just stuff like, do you know what I mean? Or even just, you'd be like, you're gonna get obsessed if you don't, like, you'd be getting a takeaway on the Saturday. You can still have a takeaway, but you, do you know what I mean? It's that you, like you need to deal with that stuff as well.
No, absolutely.
Cool. Right, we'll leave it there. If anyone is interested in one of those talks, just message me, because if you don't, I'll forget, and it'll never happen anyway. But yeah,
sounds good.
Message Dale on Instagram, or click on the link I'll put in the show notes or the description about those workshops, and we'll
see you next time.
Catch you after.
Cheers.